Young Philly, 28 years old, once regarded as one of the UK's most beloved internet creators, found himself at the center of shocking allegations just a few months ago, accusations that could change his life forever. In this video, we're going to break down exactly what happened in this unfolding story. Andre Felipe Valencia Barrientos, better known as Young Philly, is a British YouTuber and rapper. Born in Colombia, he moved to the United Kingdom at an early age and began his YouTube career in 2013. By 2017, he had also launched a successful music career, cementing his place as one of the most recognizable figures in UK internet culture, alongside other prominent YouTubers. But a few months ago, Philly became the subject of horrifying accusations. This story quickly went viral online and sparked widespread discussion, not just because of the nature of the allegations, but also due to Philly's high level of recognition and influence in the UK. Let's dive right into exactly what happened in this story that's currently unfolding. Just a very quick disclaimer, the details in this story are pretty graphic. So for anyone out there, but specifically women, who might have gone through some traumatic experiences relating to what we're going to talk about, just be aware. So I just wanted to put that out there before we start. In September 2024, Young Philly was in Australia for a tour. So Philly was performing in Bar 1 nightclub, which is located in Hillary's, and that is a suburb within the city of Perth. Now the performance ended up being a success. Fans were enjoying the show, Philly was in good spirits as he was performing, and everything was all good. The night seemed like a success by all accounts. Another highlight for the rising rapper and YouTube star. According to the allegations in question, here's what's said to have occurred that night. Philly arrived at his hotel on the evening of September 27, and the alleged assault took place on the night of September 28. It's reported that Philly brought a woman in her 20s back to his hotel room, where he allegedly raped her. While the details about what led to the incident remain unclear, the Australian authorities who investigated the case have stated that this is allegedly what transpired. During the proceedings, the prosecutor presented a set of photos to the magistrate, who acts like a judge at this stage of the case, and these particular photos were not shown to the rest of the court. According to the prosecutor, these photos were significant in addressing the question of consent. He argued that the acts depicted in the photos were such of nature that in his view, no ordinary person can consent in those circumstances. The prosecutor also claimed that the photos suggested a history of violent acts and described what allegedly occurred as being beyond the pale, beyond what could be considered to be a consensual act. Just want to highlight, while these are some serious allegations made by the prosecution, it's important to note that this evidence and its interpretation will be further scrutinized as the legal process continues. A little over a week after the alleged incident, Young Philly was arrested on October 8, 2024, while he was in Brisbane, thousands of miles away from Perth, where the allegations were said to have occurred. Authorities quickly arranged for him to be extradited back to Perth to face the charges. This meant he was transported under official custody from Brisbane to Perth, where he appeared in court shortly after. At this point, Philly was charged with multiple serious offenses, including 4 counts of sexual penetration without consent, 3 counts of assault occasioning bodily harm, and 1 count of choking. News of Young Philly's arrest and extradition spread like wildfire across the internet. Social media platforms were flooded with debates about the allegations. Many of Philly's fans expressed disbelief, struggling to come to terms with the charges, considering the image of the entertainer they had come to love, and others were quick to condemn him, saying that the allegations were too serious. Major brands and organizations that had previously collaborated with Young Philly quickly began to distance themselves following the allegations. For instance, the Football Association removed an online cooking series featuring him, highlighting the far-reaching consequences of the case. Similarly, UK streetwear brand Foot Asylum, known for its partnership with Philly through the popular YouTube series Does the Shoe Fit, severed ties with him immediately. A spokesperson for Foot Asylum stated, "In light of these extremely serious charges, we are suspending our contract with Young Philly with immediate effect." In addition, Heinz, the well-known food company, had previously collaborated with Young Philly for promotional content. However, following the allegations, Heinz swiftly removed all online material featuring him, signaling a clear disassociation. Meanwhile, the silence from Philly's social media accounts only fueled the speculation, leaving his audience with more questions than answers. With these major brands distancing themselves, the impact this had on Young Philly's career was undeniable. The allegations not only disrupted his professional partnerships, but also sparked widespread public discourse about accountability and the responsibilities of public figures. It seemed like the public had made up their mind. As social media platforms were flooded with polarizing opinions, many people expressed outrage condemning Young Philly based on the seriousness of these allegations, while others called for patience, emphasizing the importance of waiting for the legal process to play out. The divide was very clear, but the damage to his reputation was already done. The allegations against Young Philly quickly became a hot topic on social media, dividing opinions among his followers and the general public. While some fans defended him, emphasizing the importance of waiting for all the facts, others condemned him outright, pointing to the severity of the charges. The controversy also sparked a broader discussion about accountability for influencers and the power of the court of public opinion. Mainstream media outlets both in Australia and the UK extensively covered the case, bringing even more attention to the situation. Headlines about his arrest, extradition, and the charges he faced dominated news cycles, making it nearly impossible for Philly to avoid scrutiny. For many, this was a stark reminder of how quickly fame and public trust can erode in the face of serious accusations. Despite the intense reaction from the public, Philly was granted bail after his extradition to Perth. However, the bail came with strict conditions. He was required to surrender his passport, report to the police daily, and avoid any contact with the alleged victim. Additionally, he was prohibited from discussing the case publicly, which likely contributed to his silence on social media. These restrictions, combined with the ongoing investigation, left his career and personal life in a state of limbo. While this was unfolding, fans and the public, desperate for answers, began looking towards those closest to young Philly for insight. Among them was Chunks, a very successful creator out of the UK. One of Philly's closest friends and collaborators, became a focal point for inquirers. As one of the most recognizable faces in Philly's circle, Chunks found himself bombarded with questions about the allegations and Philly's situation.
Yes, my peoples, like everyone, I've heard the reports coming out of Australia. Whilst I understand many of you want my reaction on it, as this is an ongoing court case, I hope you guys can understand that I can't and won't be commenting on it publicly. So yeah, I've just come on here to basically let you know the reasons as to why I can't. Love.
Aside from a brief Instagram story addressing the news, Chunks chose to remain quiet, likely due to the sensitive nature of the case and its ongoing legal proceedings. As the story developed, it raised important questions about accountability, public perception, and the complexities of navigating fame in the digital age. Now, the case progressed, and the focus remained firmly on young Philly and the legal battles he had ahead of him. While those around him largely stayed quiet, the public narrative continued to evolve, fueled by ongoing media coverage and speculation. A lot of people online after this news broke suggested that Philly's behavior behind the scenes was always questionable. And personally, I don't really know how true that is, but there were a lot of stories surfacing about moments that didn't match his public persona. While these claims remain unverified, they've added fuel to the ongoing debates about his character. As of now, young Philly remains in Western Australia under strict bail conditions. While he awaits the next phase of the legal process, no trial date has been set yet, and the Australian court has decided to put a pause on the case until January 30. Cases of this nature can take months or even years to resolve. The allegations remain unproven at this stage, and the court will ultimately determine the outcome based on the evidence presented. So I just want to emphasize that young Philly is, as of right now, innocent until proven guilty. Adding to his legal troubles, young Philly briefly appeared in court after being caught speeding in December 2024. He was clocked driving 158 kilometers per hour, which is equivalent to 98 miles per hour, in a 100 kilometer per hour zone, which that equals to 62 miles per hour, a speed considered reckless under Australian law when exceeding the limit by more than 45 kilometers per hour, and that equals to 28 miles per hour. His lawyer stated that Philly plans to plead guilty to reckless driving at his next court appearance on January 30. If convicted, he could face up to 9 months in prison, a fine of 6,000 Australian dollars, which is around 3,750 US dollars, or 3,450 euros, and a minimum 6-month suspension of his driver's license. This incident has drawn further public criticism, raising questions about his judgment and behavior during such a sensitive time in his legal battles. Now, since this is a very serious topic right here, I want to give you my honest opinion on this story, along with a very important message about consent, specifically directed towards all the young men who watch my channel. I think it's very important to talk about the real side of these types of stories. To a lot of people, this might just be straight up entertainment, and I don't fault you. You don't know young Philly, you have no type of connection to the alleged victim. These are just names and headlines, and there's that. Despite that, I want to make sure that we leave this conversation feeling like we got something from it. So first of all, I've known about young Philly ever since I first heard about Chunks. I had no clue who he was before that. What I do know is that he's a very successful young creator in the UK. He was lucky enough to make it to a mainstream level with his platform, which is a blessing. Most YouTubers, even with big names, don't manage to reach the heights this guy has reached. He had a lot of extremely lucrative brand deals, was on mainstream television in the UK. His music was lit, everyone knows about him over there, and to put it simply, he's one of the most poppin' young internet creators out of the United Kingdom, which is why this story made so many waves when it first hit the news over 2 months ago. It goes without saying, but I don't know if he's guilty or innocent. Any outcome is possible in a story like this, but the allegations are very serious, and honestly, they have completely derailed his entire career. At this point, the Australian authorities are going to have to do what they do and figure out what really happened inside that hotel room. In a situation like this, according to the Australian law and procedures, a forensic exam, commonly known as a grape kit, is typically conducted shortly after the alleged incident is reported. often within 72 hours. And this process is crucial for collecting evidence, such as DNA or signs of physical injury, which is then analyzed to assist in the investigation and potentially support any subsequent charges. In cases like this, the forensic exam is one of the most important steps in the investigation process. It not only helps gather critical evidence, but also provides a foundation for the case to move forward in the legal system. So with the forensic exam completed, authorities have gathered enough evidence to proceed with this arrest. This raises the critical question: what were the results and how do they factor into the case? Well, the specific details of the forensic findings have not been made public. It's however very likely that the results played a key role in the charges brought against them. There's a lot that needs to be done to piece this story together, gathering her truth, his truth, and ultimately uncovering the truth that lies in the middle. Until then, young Philly remains in Australia, unable to leave as the legal process unfolds. Now, with the story aside, let's actually dedicate this part of the video to talking about consent. I think it's very important for me to talk about this because I have a platform that reaches a lot of people, but specifically a lot of young men. Consent is the foundation of any sexual encounter you're going to have with a woman. It's not something that's often discussed among men, and sadly, you can see the consequences of that reflected in so many situations we hear about today. Let me preface by saying what I'm saying right now has nothing to do with young Philly himself. The man is innocent until proven guilty. I'm simply using this moment to shed light on an important topic that deserves more attention, and that is understanding consent. Now, according to RAINN, which is the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, a leading nonprofit organization focused on sexual violence, this is how they describe consent. The general concept is simple. Consent is an ongoing process of discussing boundaries and what each person is comfortable with. It's about open communication and making sure everyone involved is fully on the same page every step of the way. And how does this work? Well, according to RAINN, consent is all about communication. It's something that should happen every single time for every type of activity. So just because someone consents to one thing, that doesn't mean they've agreed to everything. For example, saying yes to a kiss doesn't mean someone is okay with having their clothes removed. Similarly, having sex with someone in the past doesn't automatically mean they've consented to it happening again in the future. Consent has to be clear, mutual, and specific every single time. So to me, consent is more than just a yes. How I look at it is, it's an ongoing activity, meaning it's something that has to be evaluated on a moment-to-moment basis. Consent is not like jumping on a train and arriving at your destination. Consent is more like hopping on a train and actively evaluating if it's headed in the right direction. Now, the reason why I put it like this is because as men, we're wired to go and get it. Our nature is go and get it, get this done, because we're naturally mission-focused as men. We're purpose-focused. We're naturally supposed to be driven. That's our nature. And when you're talking about getting to the bag, when you're talking about grinding on your passions and your goals, it definitely works, but it doesn't work with another human being, and I cannot emphasize this enough. There's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to do something with another person, but it is your job as a man to make sure you give that person, a woman in this case, to opt out whenever she feels like it. Very important. You can never go into any type of intimate encounter expecting anything to happen because, simply put, you're not entitled to anything happening. And I think it's very important that you get this inside your skull because sadly, this is not how most men think. And I also think that this is one of the core reasons why we're seeing so many certain situations happen out here. Take Diddy, for example, who's behind bars for what? How about forcing women to do things they did not want to do? And why did he do that? Well, because he was entitled. And of course, he's a piece of and a scumbag, obviously. He had so much money, so much fame, and so much status to the point where he felt like it was his God-given right to do what he did. And look where Diddy's at right now. You don't have to be famous or rich like Diddy to build this sense of entitlement. Some men develop this through one or two really good encounters with women who really wanted to do with them. Next thing you know, that same man, he meets another woman and he's like, I got it in the bag because that old girl wanted me. And that's just not how it works. The more you think like this, the more of a danger you become. And you don't want to be a danger to anybody, especially women. You want to be a solid, respectable, honest man. That's what you want to be. A man who understands that every human being is different. A man who has enough of a perspective to think about each individual encounter uniquely, because that's exactly what it is, especially when you're about to be intimate with another human being. And I can't stress this enough because especially at a time like this where a lot of wicked things are going on in the world right now, one of them being men forcing themselves on women, which has always happened, but I'm saying there's a lot of things like that happening even today. If you're listening to this, I hope you're not one of those guys, and I really want you to think about what I'm saying. Really take in this entire conversation and really listen to what I just said, because consent is very important. And again, it's the basis of every single encounter you're gonna have with a woman, and you as a man regardless of your age, you need to understand what it means, and you need to make sure that you hold yourself accountable, and you realize that with great power comes responsibility. With that being said, I appreciate you guys for watching this video. If you made it till the end, that means that you enjoyed this video, so drop a like on it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you're new here, my name is Blacky Speaks. So nice to meet you. Welcome to the family. We got plenty of room here. Now, as for this particular story regarding young Philly, what do you guys have to say, especially all my folks out there in the UK, because I know a lot of you guys have been following this story very closely because it's happening in your backyard. So I'm really curious what everyone has to say, but especially all the people from the UK. So you guys let me know in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace. I'm out.